After months of campaigning, the official start to the Republican nomination begins tonight in Iowa. That's right, folks. The caucuses are finally here. And joining me now from Des Moines is Dustin Stockton, the founder of the Western Representation PAC and the chief strategist for the TeaParty.net. Dustin, thanks so much for being with us today. Now, you've been in the ground in Iowa. You've been going to rallies. Which candidate has the most momentum right now?
Clearly, Rick Santorum has been surging the last couple days. His crowd sizes have gone way up. But I will say, saying that it's finally here, didn't we just start 2012? And it seems like we're voting just too early now.
It seemed that way. In 2008, they moved the whole calendar up. But it seemed like this campaign has gone on for so long. And for that majority of that time, Mitt Romney has been atop of the polls. And he seems to have a little bit of confidence. Do you think his campaign thinks that they're going to actually win this thing?
I think he does think he's going to win it, and he has a really good chance because unlike all the other candidates at this point, he is unscathed. There's not been a single negative ad. You're not seeing, except anecdotally, some of the candidates like Newt Gingrich occasionally mentioning the negativity of his campaign. But they have effectively torn down every conservative option as they popped up. They've been knocked down. And you're seeing a big split there. And their strategy was always to win it with about 25% of the vote. And it looks like they might have a chance to pull that off.
Yeah, it's always seemed that's been his ceiling. But talk a little bit about those negative ads, because you had Newt Gingrich coming out saying that after Iowa, he's going to dedicate all of his money to just taking down Mitt Romney. He's really gotten pummeled. What has happened to Gingrich in that state?
The ads are everywhere. You cannot turn the TV on here in the hotel room in Iowa without seeing ad after ad after ad just ruthlessly tearing into Newt Gingrich at this point. And it's been incredibly difficult because with his surge in the polls, his campaign wasn't ready to respond in a rapid way, the way that they needed to. And so he has just been devastated here. And you're only now starting to see his numbers start to rebound a little bit. I actually would say, anecdotally, Newt's crowds have all been very large and very enthusiastic. I think he has a good chance to beat expectations tonight.
Now, talk a little bit, too, about Ron Paul. He looks to be another winner from the caucuses tonight. Talk a little bit about the momentum surrounding him.
I actually think the momentum's going in the wrong way for Ron Paul, which is his support is very fervent. They're not going anywhere. But the problem is, for Ron Paul, is the expectations have been set very high. They didn't manage the expectations game very well. And now you're starting to hear a lot about the newsletters that he published in the 80s and 90s and some of the, all of his appearances on Alex Jones and all of the negatives on Ron Paul are starting to come out. And you're starting to hear people on the ground really talk about that because he had really done a successful job of branding himself as the Constitution Liberty guy. And now what you're seeing is some of the negatives that everybody else has had to deal with coming into play. And I think it's nearly impossible for Ron Paul at this point to beat expectations.
Yeah, for so long, I mean, it just seemed like the media wasn't taking him seriously. Now he actually has to answer some questions. But talk a little bit about the crowds, because it seems like this has been the most undecided amount of people going into these caucuses tonight. There's a lot of votes that could break either way. What is your feeling going in? What do you think voters there are actually looking for?
Well, one of the funny things about the Iowa caucus is it's so hard to judge because I meet more people like me who are from other states, and the crowd's space is really taken up by a lot of media that it's sometimes hard to gauge. But I will say Newt Gingrich has had the rallies we've been to have been very supportive, very enthusiastic. Rick Perry rallies, he is really good with retail politics. And so if just judging by the crowds, I would say, and Ron Paul's crowds are extremely excited and also much younger. So judging by the crowds, it would seem the top three. The Mitt Romney crowds, usually they do a good job turning people out, but they're not enthusiastic. They all still have a lot of questions.
So Dustin, who's your pick tonight? What's your prediction?
My prediction, I'm going to give Mitt Romney the win, but only with 22% of the vote. And I think the top 5 is all going to be very close, with Newt Gingrich and Rick Perry beating expectations, and Rick Santorum and Ron Paul not getting up to expectations, and Michelle Bachmann out of the race tomorrow morning.
Well, Dustin, thank you so much for joining us today, and good luck out there in the cold.
Oh, thank you. It is freezing here. I can't wait to get to warmer weather.
And you can stay tuned for more of our election coverage right here on PJTV.